Botani mawethu namkelekile kwi-Morning Live, and I'm greeting you in isiXhosa today because you rightly put it, Leanne, we're in East London, in the Eastern Cape. A good 13% of South Africa's population call this particular province home. Now that's about 6.59 million people, and 83.4% of them speak isiXhosa. But we're not here to get a crash course in the language. We're here instead to speak to the powers that be, Leanne. We're monitoring some of their gains, some of the challenges that remain, and their focal areas going into this current administration. They've wrapped up 100 days in office. So we'll be unpacking these issues with the Honorable Premier, Mr. Phumulo Masualle. He's here with us, as well as MEC Sakhumzi Somyo, the Office of Finance and Economic Development. We have MEC Helen Sauls-August, she's Human Settlements MEC, and we also have MEC Fikile Xasa, representing Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. I must just tell you, Leanne, we have a host of dignitaries in our midst. We have traditional leaders, we have various stakeholders in business. We also have the education, MEC Mandla Makupula, and he's also joined by a number of office bearers. So we are looking forward to your questions. Do get in touch with us via Twitter at Morning Live SABC. Send in your questions as well. We want you to participate in this panel discussion. The hashtag there is hashtag TNA Brief, I should say. Good morning to you all. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Morning, Ayanda.
Mr. Premier, as the captain, I should say, my captain, I'm going to begin with you. Speak to us about the significance of this milestone of 100 days in office.
Thank you very much, Ayanda. I think the first thing is we set out a very bold plan, informed by the National Development Plan, customized it to suit our circumstances. We articulated what we seek to do in the next 5 years. Having done that, we then set out critical milestones in the path to achieve those things. And we said we want to have a measure, a test of the effectiveness of the strategy we've put in place, to see to it that we've worked with speed, there is greater accountability, there's mobilization of partners in the achievement of what we set out to do. And indeed, in the first 100 days, we've seen that work. This is but a confirmation of that, and we set out to report back, and this is what we have done. And indeed, in that 100 days, we've seen that plan being embraced, not only by internal stakeholders, it's been embraced even externally outside of government. And in government, a sense of delivery, the mind set has been accepted that we've got to work with a sense of haste. We've got to work mobilizing everybody to be partners with us in what we have to do. There were things that we needed to see done in the different departments. With the team I have, we said we must set an example, show how we want to see things happen. Each one of us, we had to sign a delivery agreement, a pact, to say, I, as the following portfolio, this is what I'm going to deliver in this time. And in the 100 days, we had to go back to that and see if it has been met to the extent it was set out. And I'm happy to say that we are able to see that such has been embraced indeed in education, in health, in human settlements, right across. A sense of being delivery-focused, oriented towards achieving goals. This is what we set out, and we can see it's happening.
I can imagine a number of those goals are still work in progress. They're developing, not yet fully accomplished by now. But just speak to us about what it is that you hope to achieve in this administration.
Well, we firstly have to respond to the challenge that our province faces. Where we have said, in terms of our medium-term strategic framework, we've got to respond to 7 critical areas: transforming and growing the economy, dealing with the question of rural development, which we've got a province that is predominantly rural. Of course, ensuring that we've got an effective education system, quality health care for the people, and certainly looking at ensuring that we build cohesive communities in terms of human settlements, as well as a vibrant and delivery-focused public service these key priority areas, we then had to draw implementation plans that are broken down into each financial year in terms of government operations, so that we look at what must be achieved in what time periods. And indeed, I'm happy to say that with the time and pace we've taken, we are heading in the right direction. We're happy to say some of the things that otherwise in the past would have been things we don't pay as much attention to, we don't mind. We now change focus, and we've said we must see things happen, and each one of us must be accountable for those. In education, very clear deliverables that must be seen and verified that it has been done. In health and all the other portfolios, I think we are in that frame, and we wanted to really put ourselves out there to say this is what we set out to do. We are doing it. We're inviting you. Be part of that journey of making sure that we can change the province for the better.
Move the Eastern Cape forward. I'm going to bring in your MECs now, because I want to check whether or not they were paying attention when they signed those delivery agreements that you speak of, because sometimes they'll just sign and not read. So I want to see, and you can assess them with me now. So this can be an appraisal to see whether or not they were paying attention. MEC Sakhumzi Somyo in the Department of Finance and Economic Development. I know that you have signed, as the Premier has alluded to, that delivery agreement. He did that with all the MECs in the particular sectors. I want to know, what are the deliverables that you'll be focusing on in this term?
Thank you very much for the question. I want to say in appreciation of the direction that has been given by the Premier in terms of our own 100 days. One of the things that we do in finance is efficiencies. And secondly, value for money. And in the third instance, we must ensure that what we have is spent in a manner that will give results in a desirable way. We are servicing a province which is in dire need in terms of infrastructure, and those efficiencies would have to, how do we bring that infrastructure to the people, and secondly, to ensure that in terms of our own line of operation, our departments are operative in a sense of listening tightly into handling their own finances going forward. The third instance is that in terms of the budget that we bring forth, we've got two critical departments, which is health and education. Those departments are expense of more than 70% of the entire budget of the province. So we must tidy up and ensure that in moving forward, they observe quite a critical principles of such efficiencies.
I'm looking around me and I can see some of the banners representing Eastern Cape as home of legends. This is where your Bikos come, your Tatuma Divas come, your Walter Sisulus, your Oliver Tambo. So it's clearly rich in history, not so rich in minerals, heavily reliant on the automotive industry. How do you plan on increasing or diversifying even the economy here to create more jobs?
Well, we must appreciate the fact that the Eastern Cape over time has indeed relied on the automotive sector. We have in the recent past focused in the eastern part of the province by bringing in addition to what we have in terms of the industrial development zones, East London Development Zone, the Kuha Development Zone, and the new child on the block would be the Wild Coast Industrial Development Zone in the new SAZ Act, which we're working on in terms of bringing in processing, which will kick in the factor of agro-processing, which would rely in itself on the primary production of agricultural produce, which will be taken into that spin to process it. But there must be some of the things which supply and somewhat factor into effectiveness of the industries in the rural economies. We must ensure that the infrastructure that we bring in there is tidied up in terms of rural roads, and there is water. And that's why we're working together with the National Department to ensure that we build a dam which is going to comfortably feed into the production in the rural line in terms of agricultural primary product.
Let's bring in here MEC Helen, Sauls-August, now Human Settlements. Thank you so very much for joining us. What are your focus areas?
Well, the focus areas for the Department of Human Settlement is primarily to upgrade the informal settlements that we are currently experiencing in the province, also addressing the housing backlog that is there in the province, and thirdly, to ensure that the new communities that we are setting up are integrated, that the other amenities are brought into play, not only the houses, but there are schools. We must ensure that the health facilities are there, integrating that with the Department of Education, the Department of Health, speaking to each other, making sure that there are creches in the areas there, playing fields, informal playing fields, all of the other amenities, so that at the end of the day, we have an integrated human settlement produced there for our communities, new residential areas, new cities that we are developing in this province.
I'm going to ask you, we have to take a quick ad break, but just following up on what you're saying of some of the amenities that are important when you are considering human settlements, the issue of that bucket system that we saw rearing its ugly head, and not just in this province, in fact, in various other provinces in the country. We know that you were working on a certain target to make sure that you eradicate the bucket system. The Statistician General, Mr. Padi Luhota, not too long ago saying that in fact they've seen an increase. And I think your response was that the reason why there's an increase in the bucket system is because of informal dwellings who set up structures and then use such systems. How do you plan on making sure that you completely get rid of that form? Quick answer, and then we take a quick break.
Well, obviously it is to eradicate the informal settlements where we do build houses. Obviously you immediately eradicate that. Also ensuring that working with municipalities that they must introduce their bylaws to ensure that we stop the influx of people occupying land illegally, because it is that measure that then gives us the informal settlements that have got to bring about the issue of the bucket system. We want to eradicate that, and we believe we can do that within the next 5 years. That is for the informal settlements. The formal areas, we are in the process by the end of this year to eradicate the buckets in the formal areas within this province. You won't have that challenge anymore.
MEC, let's leave it there, at least for now. More when we come back. We still have MEC for Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Mr. Fikile Xasa. He'll be speaking to us about what his deliverables are for the next 5 years, and we'll also be asking about that issue of circumcision among our young people and how many of them lose their lives, and whether or not they've been engaging with various traditional leaders to tackle that issue. All that and more when we come back. Stay with us.